Welcome to Entry. Just a second, let me check whether this is everyone is able to see it or not. Just say hi in the chat box if you are able to see. Okay. So welcome to Entry. It is a multilinguistic app-based learning platform where thousands and lakhs of students are getting benefited out of this app. Okay. Now, please welcome to that. And today we are going to discuss about something called analog and digital electronics. The analog and digital electronics is a major important subject in many competitive examinations, very important for electrical students also. Trust me, the students who are very good at this subject called analog and digital electronics will be on the top of the list, of success, because this subject is going to give you nearly 15% of the marks, whether it is a gate examination, whether it is a AW examination, whether it is SC examination, you name the competitive examination. In that, this subject called analog and digital electronics will play a major role. So now I am here to explain you what is the subject complete details, how we are going to study, what are the steps to follow to crack the subject and to learn the subject more. Okay. Yes. Yes. Before going to get into the details of the complete syllabus, just let me spend a few seconds on what I am. Right. So myself, Shravan Kumar, I have master's degree. Myself, Shravan Kumar, I have 11 plus years of teaching experience, and I have master's degree in VLSI system design from JNTUH. I have guided more than 10,000 students for different competitive examinations at different institutes. And the important subjects which I can handle are electronic devices and circuits, which is a very important subject for electronics and communication engineering students. And then the subject basics of the subjects are also very important for triple E students also, right? Okay. Then another important subject is analog electronics and then digital electronics. Right now, whatever we are discussing is the combination of both these subjects. What are they, sir? Analog electronics and digital electronics, right? I can also handle instrumentation to some extent. I'm also having some knowledge. I can teach electromagnetics and transmission lines also. Okay, this is the small introduction about myself. Okay, let's move to the next original syllabus of entire analog and digital electronics. If you look at the entire syllabus, I am trying to divide the entire subjects into two parts. One is called analog electronics. The second part is called digital electronics. Digital electronics. So in the first part of the electronics, that is analog electronics, which is the first part, what we are going to discuss, here is, the first topic is going to be characteristics of diodes. What do you mean by what? The different diodes which you might have studied in your normal engineering will be a normal PN junction diode. A normal PN junction diode. Okay. A normal PN junction diode you might have studied. And we will also try to see what is the Zener diode also. Okay. Normal PN junction diode as well as Zener diode we will try to discuss. So what do you mean by characteristics of the subject, characteristics of the PN junction diode? So what do you mean by that, sir? The characteristics of a PN junction or Zener diode means how they are trying to behave when you apply some voltages and how much current you are going to gain. How much voltage you apply, for how much voltage, how much current you are going to gain. What is the reason to know about this characteristic, sir? The only thing which is very, very important is how this Zener diode, PN junction diode behaves at different circumstances such that we can use them in a given circuits. The applications of the circuits or applications of this PN junction diode, Zener diode, tunnel diode, varactor diode, whatnot. There are many important diodes also we will discuss, right? So that is what the first topic. Then, and before going to see why a diode we will discuss, so what I tell you is I myself will not directly jump into subject. For every discussion, I am here to tell you what is the reason behind the subject to learn and why it got the name. Simple example I'll tell you. Why a diode is called diode? Can somebody tell me why a diode is called diode? Those who are watching, please tell me why a diode is called diode. Diode, the name diode. I'll tell you what is the reason behind this. So my level of teaching, see, my target is not that extraordinary student who can perform very well in the examination. My target is the average and below average student who is struggling to learn to get the success in his life. Is the point clear? So I will help you here for that, right? Why a diode is called diode, sir? Then why a diode is called diode? Why a diode is called diode? Very simple, sir. If you look at the PN junction diode, the symbol of the PN junction diode will look like this. Very simple. Okay. Most of you have already know about it, but I'll tell you here why. So here it is something called, this is what we call this as anode. We have something called anode. This is the p-type region. On the other side, we have something called n-type region, and we call this as a cathode. Cathode, right? Here we have, look at here, how many electrodes we have. How many electrodes we have? We have two electrodes here. What are they? Anode and cathode. So can I call this is having two electrodes? Two electrodes. Are you getting the point or not? We have two electrodes. So can I call this two as a di? You know, when somebody said tri means three, di means two, tetra means four. Like that, two electrodes are there here. So I have just considered this ode, diode. I think you are getting the point very clearly. Di and ode, diode. So as this is having two electrodes, we call it as a diode. Very simple, na? But many of the students doesn't know even this small logic. Many of the students doesn't even know what is this small logic. So I am here to explain you. I am here to explain you each and every point from the basics. From the basics. Because if your basics are very strong, you can perform very well in the examinations, sir. Very well in the examinations. The reason why a diode is called diode like this. Similarly, if we move on to the next topics like the characteristics of BJT. What do you mean by BJT? What do you mean by BJT? BJT stands for bipolar junction transistor. Bipolar junction transistor. Why a BJT is called BJT? My question is, as the diode is called diode, definitely there might be a reason why a BJT is called BJT, right? So in this topic called BJT, what we are going to discuss here is, in the BJT, while we are discussing about the BJT, in the BJT, bipolar junction transistor having how many configurations? We have three configurations. What are those three configurations? What are those three configurations? We have common emitter configuration, common base configuration, common collector configuration. So when we have three types of BJT configurations, definitely there will be three different characteristics. And each characteristic, each common emitter, common base, common collector will have two types of characteristics. Two types of characteristics. What are they? Input characteristics and then output characteristics. Input characteristics and then output characteristics. So we will try to see each of them in detail. What is the use, where we are going to use, why a bipolar junction transistor can be used as an amplifier, at what point it can be used as a voltage amplifier, at what point it can be used as a current amplifier, at what point it can be used as a power amplifier, right? So these are very, very important points to be learned to get the success in the examination. You need to be very much patient while you are learning all these concepts. Okay, right? Then the next topic is going to be MOSFET. Again, this is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. This is the another transistor. First transistor is BJT, which we have studied, and then we'll come back to, we will see again the topic of MOSFET. That is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor also. Okay, so this is also, we will also see the what are the VI characteristics of this MOSFET, or how it will behave. What are its input characteristics? What are its output characteristics? Sometimes we call it a transfer characteristics. We can call that. That also we'll try to see. Transfer characteristics of the MOSFET also we'll try to see. Okay. Then here, after discussing about the characteristics of a diodes, BJT and MOSFET, the next most important concept to be learned is a simple diode circuits. Sir, as I told you, whenever you learn about this PN junction diode, immediately we'll talk about this diode circuits, which are like applications of this PN junction diode or whatever GNOT diode. GNOT diode. So if you look at that, first thing is called something called clipping. Clipping. What do you mean by clipping, sir? What do you mean by clipping? What do you mean by clip? What do you mean by clip, sir? You generally listen. I have seen the video clip. I have seen the video clip of a comedy video clip. So what do you mean by that? Very simple, sir. In two and a half hours of film, you may like only 2 minutes or 3 minutes of 3 minutes of video, and then I can call. When you see in your mobile phone nowadays, you might have subscribed for many YouTube channels where you are able to see some clippings. So what do you mean by clipping? In the entire 2.5 hours of the cinema, you're liking or you're watching only the 2 minutes or 3 minutes video. it means it is what you want is only that 3 minutes of video. Now then what you have done, sir, you have clipped off, you have removed the unwanted video of remaining 200 to 2 minutes 27 to 2 hours 27 minutes. So what you are saying is only 3 minutes of video. So what you have done, you have clipped off. So here the concept of clipping is also same. Very simple concept. The concept of clipping is also very simple and same. What is that, sir? You will be collecting only the required output from the input. You will be removing unwanted signal from the input. You will be taking only the required input. In this clipping also, we will discuss in detail, sir. In detail, we will discuss. There are two types of clippers generally. There are two types of clippers. What are they, sir? Positive clipper and negative clipper. Positive clipper and negative clipper. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? When the positive portion of the input signal is clipped off, then we can call it a positive clipper. The negative portion of the input signal is clipped off, then we can call it as a negative clipper. And we have something called two-level clipper also. What do you mean by two-level clipper? What do you mean by two-level clipper, sir? Both input, both positive side and negative side can also be clipped off at a time. And we will see the positive clipper with the positive reference, positive clipper with the negative reference, everything in detail with input output waveform and transfer function. We will discuss in detail, sir. There is always a chance. There is always a chance that you may get some questions from this simple diode circuits. Simple diode circuits. Okay, because as I told you, there are 15% of marks can be covered by the subject, which is very important. Which is very important. You take any exam, you come back to me, you will find minimum, let's say if it's 100 marks paper, definitely you will find out of 100 marks paper, definitely 20 marks will be given to what, sir? General studies. In a technical paper, you will be having only 80 marks. In the 80 marks, 15% means almost 12 questions you are getting. 12 questions you are getting from this subject, which is very, very important. If you are thorough with this subject, you will definitely be on the top of it. You will definitely on the top of the list. Okay. Then this is the first important concept of clippers, which are diode circuits. Then we will be having something called clampers. They are also same as that of this. So you will be having a positive clampers and negative clampers. Positive clamping and negative clamping you will be having. So what do you mean by the word clamping? Clampers can also be called as, they're called as DC restorers. DC restorer. So what do you mean by DC restorer? DC restorers. So what do you mean by this DC restores? What do you mean by this? It restores the DC signal. Means, as you know, I'll tell you here. You can see here what I'm trying to explain here. So let's consider a sinusoidal signal. You can see here we have a positive terminal, we have a positive signal, and then this is a negative half cycle and positive half cycle. So what do you mean by DC signal, sir? What do you mean by DC signal? DC signal is nothing but an average signal. Average. You can see here, what is this, sir? Average means, let's consider this as a positive 5 volts and let's consider this as a negative 5 volts. So what is the average of this signal? Can somebody tell me what is the average value of the given signal? Can somebody comment on this? What is the average value of this? What is the DC value or what is the average value? The average value of this, is going to be 0. The average value of this is going to be 0. Let us say if the signal is moved, to the next level, I'll tell you here. You can see here. So consider some other signal. Consider this some other signal. So let's consider this something like this. You can see here, this is what, let's say 10 volts, and this is 0 volts. Assume that this is touching the x-axis. Okay, this is touching x-axis. Okay, so now what will be the average value? 10 plus 0 by 2. What you're going to get? 5 volts. So the average value, the V average, which is also called as VDC. The voltage you can see here, the voltage which you are trying to cover, is having a DC voltage of 5 volts, a DC voltage of 5 volts. We will discuss what is the need of it in a later period. We will discuss what is the need of it in a later period. But here, just as introduction, I am telling you, as an introduction, I am telling you what is the need of it. So in this previous case, the average value and the signal was looking like this. Now in this case, you can see the signal is completely moved towards the positive direction. So it is moved from this level to the upper level, Okay. So if somebody says, let's say, I want a signal like this, which is completely negative, region, So this is 0 volts, this is minus 10 volts. So average value will be what, sir? This is going to be minus 5 volts. So here what happens, sir? The signal is completely moved into the negative cycle. Completely moved into the completely negative cycle. So what is the reason? Why do we need all these things? We'll discuss in detail, without having any doubts, Okay, in the discussions, in our discussion. Next we have something called this rectifiers. So most of you have already know what do you mean by rectifier. Rectifier is a device which converts a AC current to DC, which converts an AC signal to DC signals. So how many types of rectifiers we have? Yes, we have 3 types of rectifiers. We can call them as, we study a half wave rectifier, a full wave rectifier, and a, what do we have then? A full wave rectifier, and then we have a bridge rectifier. So these are everything which we are going to discuss in detail about rectifiers. Rectifiers without filters and rectifier with filters also we will try to discuss. Right? So for each one of them, remember, for each one of them, we will be discussing the previous questions, model questions, problems, everything we'll discuss. I am here to ensure you what is more important for you. Okay. Then after that, slowly we will be entering into one more important concept called amplifiers. So what do you mean by an amplifier? Amplifier is a circuit which strengthens the weak signal. How it strengthens the weak signal? You don't know. Don't worry. I am here to explain you. There is something process called biasing. There is something process called biasing. By the method of biasing, we are going to amplify or strengthen a weak signal. We will try to improve its position, right? And we will try to see what would be the equivalent circuit of the amplifier and its frequency response. So what do you mean by frequency response? For different frequency signals, how the circuit will respond. For low frequencies, how this amplifier responds. For high frequencies, how the amplifier responds. Okay, so like this, we will try to cover in detail about this amplifier concept. Okay. So if you have at any point of time, if you get any doubt, you can ping me. Yes, you can ping me. Is the point clear for all of you? Yeah, please let me know if you have any issues. Okay. Next Next most important concept is something called oscillators. Oscillators. So what do you mean by an oscillator? Oscillator is a device. Oscillator is a device which produces a sinusoidal signal. Which produces a sinusoidal signal. Okay. So there are three types of oscillators which we generally see. What are those, sir? We have different oscillators like Hartley oscillator, Colpitt's oscillator, RC phase shift oscillator. So every oscillator we try to discuss in detail. Every oscillator we try to discuss in detail. Sir, at the end of this presentation, I am going to spend lot of time on how to crack the examination in 7 steps. I have beautiful package for this. So you guys can see, this is the most important thing which I am going to cover. The 7 steps. The 7 steps which will make you successful in any competitive examination. In any competitive examination. How and when you are going to become more successful. How you are going to become more successful. Okay. That is very important thing that we will discuss at the end of the presentation. But let's try to continue on what the syllabus. After syllabus discussion, I'll come back to this. After syllabus discussion, I'll come back to this. Okay, right. So oscillators. After that, this is a feedback amplifiers. This is very important concept called feedback amplifiers. So first, we will try to discuss what do you mean by feedback, and then how this amplifiers will work out. How this amplifiers will work out, right? As I told you, we will discuss every part, previous year questions, problems, and then model questions also will discuss on all these topics. Model questions also will try to discuss on this topic. Okay, then we have something called operational amplifiers. Operational amplifiers. So the word operational amplifier, it's an amplifier. Of course, it is an amplifier. But what do you mean by operations? The circuit which performs mathematical operations is called an operational amplifier. Generally, we call it as an op amp. Generally, many students will call it as an op amp. Op amp. Right? First of all, we'll try to study why an op amp is called op amp, and then we'll try to see, what are the applications of an op amp. What are the applications of an op amp? Like characteristics and applications of an op amp. Again, here see what are the characteristics of operational amplifier. Then we'll see the active filters. You can see the simple active filter. Very important concept. Very important concept called simple active filters. Simple active filters. Then we have something called voltage controlled oscillators. How a operational amplifier can be used as a voltage control oscillators, and then we'll also try to see what are the timers. You might have studied about timers, like what timers you have studied, sir? 555 timer, exactly. Yes, you have studied a 555 timer in your syllabus. That also we'll try to discuss. Now, so far what we have discussed is all about an analog electronics. Next comes here the second part of the syllabus called digital electronics. Okay. Now, in the digital electronics, directly in the syllabus, he will mention something called combinational sequential logic circuits. But frankly speaking, this combinational sequential logic circuits needs a lot of basics. If you go back and see some previous year questions, in that before this also we have discussed some important topics like the how this logic gates work, right? We have OR gate, AND gate, XOR gate. Why an XOR gate called XOR gate, sir? Why an XOR gate are called XOR gate? I'll tell you here. I'll just simply why XOR is called why XOR gate. Sir, I'll tell you, I'll make it very simple, sir. I'm telling you again and again. I'm telling you again and again. What I'm telling you, sir? My target is not the student who is more successful, I am just targeting the student who is below average and wants to become more and more successful in his life. Okay, why an XOR gate? What's the OR gate, sir? What do you mean by OR gate? We have 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. What do you mean by OR? If either of let's say this A, B, and some X output, right? If either of them is 1, then output is going to be 1. So 0 0 0 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 1 is also 1. Then what do you mean by XOR gate? XOR gate. Again, we will be having A, B, X. See, you need not remember this, sir, in your lifetime. If you listen to me once, you need not by heart or remember every time. It will be there in your brain completely. See this logic. How to remember the logic in logic way? 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1, right? So what is output, sir? This is 0 1 1 0. This is what XOR gate, right? So what do you mean by XOR gate? I can call this as an exclusive OR gate generally, or excuse gate. You remember in a different way. You remember it as an excuse gate. What is the excuse here? You see, just compare these two. For 0 0 0, here also you got 0 0 0 here. You can see here this, and then this. 0 0 is here. For 0 1 you got 1 only. For 1 0 also you got 1. But you can see this is here. What is the difference between this OR gate and this OR gate? OR and XOR. Only this one is difference. So there is an excuse in the OR gate that has become XOR gate. So why an XOR gate is called XOR gate? This is the reason, sir. You need not confuse at any time in coming days. Only one excuse is given here. One excuse is given here. What is that excuse, sir? All the remaining three outputs of an XOR gate and OR gate are same only for 1 1 input. For 1 1 input, 1 is an output for OR gate, but whereas for 1 1 input, 0 is an output for an XOR gate. So there is an excuse. There is something called exclusiveness in this context. So that is the reason why an OR gate and this gate is called exclusive OR gate. Similarly, you can find exclusive AND also. So you should learn in this way such that you will never ever forget the subject. So my way of teaching will be like this. My way of teaching will be like this, sir. So please do join and learn the subject in deep way from my classes. Okay, register yourself under Entri App. Register yourself under Entri App and learn all these things perfectly. Learn all these things perfectly from Shravan Kumar, sir. Okay. So all these basics also I'm going to cover, and you will be having number conversions from octal to binary to octal and hexadecimal. So there are many different number systems. First of all, we'll start our discussion with number systems, then we'll see the logic gates, then we will come to something called combinational logic circuit. Unless and until if you understand all these things, there is no use of learning all these things. So if you are not understanding all those concepts and you can directly come to combinational logic, you will not understand. The major problem with the triple E students is they might have not learned all these things when they are in the college. Right? Then what are the different combinational circuits which you have? You have adders, subtractors, subtractor, off adder, full adder, all these concepts. Adders, subtractors, Everything will be there. Then we have multiplexers, demultiplexers. This also will see in digital electronics. Then we can also see next is something called sequential logic circuits. What do you mean by sequential logic circuit, sir? Sequential, what do you mean by sequence? You many a times you listen the word sequence. What do you mean by sequence? Sequel of the film. Bahubali 1, Bahubali 2, Dabang 1, Dabang 2, Dabang 3, Dabang 4, Dabang 5, Simha 1, Simha no, what? That is Surya's film, I don't remember. He will be police officer. Singham, correct, Singham. Singham 1, Singham 2, Singham 3. What's happening, sir? We call it as a sequence. So, and you can see the Sarkar, like Sarkar 1, Sarkar 2. So, the sequence means there is a pretext to the what is happening. If you don't understand what happened previously, it is very difficult for you to understand what is happening today. So similarly, in a logic gate, there is something called you need to remember something what happened previously. So for that case, we need a memory. What is the difference between major difference between combinational and sequential logic, sir? Memory. Memory. There comes flip flop. There comes flip flop. Right? So what is flip flop? Flip flop is a memory. So the word sequential, why sequential has come, sir? Because you have to remember something in your life. You have to remember something to execute this logic circuit. Because of that reason, the name has come. In a combination, you do not remember anything. You will directly know answer. What's answer? But in case of this sequential logic circuit, you have to remember many things. That is why you got counters, right? Counters. Majorly, counters will play a major role, and then we have many things to discuss in case of this sequential logic circuits, right? After that, we will discuss something called a Schmidt trigger. So, what do you mean by Schmidt trigger, sir? In general, simply remember a Schmidt trigger will change a sinusoidal signal into square wave, or a triangular wave into square wave. So very important. The output of this Schmidt trigger is a square wave. How? We will see. How that can be designed, how that can be done, we will see. No problem. I am here to help you to discuss everything in detail. Okay. Then we have something called sample and hold circuits. This you can understand simply what you mean by sample and hold. The words which are very important to remember. Okay, then we have something called analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters. Analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters also plays a major role in digital circuits. Okay, this is also very important concept for all of us. This is also very important concept for all of us. So this also we will try to see. Then the last topic of our entire syllabus is going to be this something called 8085 microprocessor. 8085 microprocessor. In this 8085 microprocessor, what we are going to learn, sir? We are going to see the architecture of that microprocessor, right? What will be there inside, where the memory will be, how the processing will happen, what is the IO. IO means what, sir? Input output, how the interaction will happen, and what is the architecture, what is the pin diagram, how many pins it is going to have, each pin does what work, what is a hold, what is spike, like this many things we will be trying to see. First of all, we'll try to see the microprocessor internal diagram. Then we will come to something called programming. This is also very important. Programming is also very important of the microprocessor. Then interfacing. Here comes the very important, sir. How this microprocessor will be interfaced with external devices. with external devices. This microprocessor may be connected to some TV. Example I'm telling you, it may be connected to some washing machine, it may be connected to some laptop, whatnot. I'm just giving you some examples. I'm just trying to give you some examples how this can be done. How this can be done. So this is what the entire concept of the microprocessor in detail we'll try to spend. In detail we'll try to spend each and every topic, and with previous year examination questions also. With the previous year questions, and then we'll try to see what are the model question papers, how many solved questions we can discuss, how to interact physically also we will have. So please do subscribe for Entri app and try to connect with me so that these topics will be very, very easy and clear for all of you. So is the point clear for all of you? Okay, then. Here comes very important, sir. Here comes this is a very important slide. So many students think that just listening to the classes will give you the entire subject. No. Please come out of that notion that just by listening to the classes of Shravan Kumar sir, you will not get the analog and digital electronics. You have to refer some textbooks. You have to refer some textbooks. So the textbooks which are important for all of you is integrated electronics. Generally we will call it as LOPAD. LOPAD. Integrated electronics by Jacob Billman. Generally we call it as a Jacob Millman and Halkias. Integrated electronics by Millman and Halkias. Generally very available textbook. This is the very important form of the textbook which will give you lot of information regarding the subject. Okay, then we have something called digital design. This is the second part. This first part is for analog electronics. This book is for analog electronics. Okay, then this book digital design is for digital electronics. This book is very important, which you should be using this book for digital electronics. Okay, then the third part is what we discussed is 8085 microprocessor. There is some book called Mazidi, very famous textbook for microprocessor and microcontrollers, and you will definitely learn to the maximum extent. So don't confine yourself to one question paper, one type of examination pattern. Be open to learn the subject which might be useful for multiple examinations. Don't confine your subject to only one type of examination like AEE or local, state level examinations. Or see, if you learn it very well, this will be useful for gate examination. This will be useful for DRDO. This will be useful for some other electrical, Transco, Genco, whatnot. For everything, this subject will be useful. So I am here to promise you to ensure that you all guys will learn in a best way. Through my classes. So this is all about the subject. Here comes the problem. Many students have the issue of, sir, how to get the subject, how to get success in the examination. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll try to cover what are the most important 7 steps. Which are required to be successful in your life or in the examination. What are the most important steps? You can see here how many steps this guy is having, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of 7 subjects, we are here. Entry is here. Entry is here to help you. Entry is here to help you. Right? So I named it as Saptapadi. So I named it as Saptapadi. What do you mean by Saptapadi, sir? 7 steps. The most important 7 steps. Generally, this Saptapadi is a word which will be used when you are getting married. You revolve around that fire, right? In a Hindu's culture, after marriage, they revolve around the fire, which will count. The count would be 7 steps, such that your bonding will be very high. So if you follow these 7 steps, your life with the examination will be very super, and you will be almost 99% reaching the goal. 99% reaching the goal. Okay, right? And entry is here to help you. Entry is here to help you. We are pushing you from the back. We are trying to help you, pushing you from the back to get success in the life. The 7 steps for the success. The 7 steps for the success. Right? So, what are those 7 steps? You see here. You might be knowing all these things, but I'm emphasizing all of them very clearly at this point of time to get the success. To get the success. What are those 7 steps? What are those 7 steps? If you see, the first step is going to be learn the subject first. How? Don't worry, sir. I'll explain. See, I'll explain you about each step, how to learn. So don't worry. I'm here to tell you about each and every step. But I'm just summarizing here what are the 10 steps which are required to get the success in the life. I mean, success in the examination, especially here. Right? So the first step is learn the subject. Very, very important steps. This is the most important first, because many students will learn the subject in a different way. The problem is they don't know how to learn the subject first. How to learn the subject, from where they have to learn. Many students fail. See, because in the market there are hundreds of topics, hundreds of books, hundreds of these things will be available, which will definitely confuse you, in learning it. Okay. The first step is how to learn the subject. Then prepare your own notes, sir. While you are studying, you need to do you have to prepare your own notes. I'll tell you the next slide. I'll tell you how to do this also. Don't worry. Right. Next, practice previous year questions, or previous year. I mean to say previous years, in the sense previous questions. Maybe 10 years back, 15 years back, 20 years back. Right. Then solve the problems from the textbooks. Solve the problems from textbooks. Yes, I'm telling you, solve the problems from the solved problems from textbooks. So you should refer. Don't think that he will be giving something out of the box. No, he'll not be giving something out of the box. He will be giving. He will be giving the questions from your textbooks only. Okay. Then there is a most important thing here is short notes and a formula summary. Short notes and a formula summary. Then revision, and we have something called mock tests. Mock tests. I can use the word mock test. Mock test. So now I will discuss each one of them in detail. I will discuss each one of them in detail now. Right? Learn the subject first step. How will you learn, sir? You can see if you are sitting here. You can see if you are sitting here, you have hundreds of books available, and in nowadays internet data is available. So you need to know what to study and what not to study. Sir, everything is available on the internet, sir. But you need a guide. You need a guide while you are learning this. Because the same topic will be given by hundreds of books. You should be knowing from where to study, how to study, what to study. right? So plan accordingly, talk to your guide, or Entri is here to help you how to study that. The major problem with the student is he don't know where to start and where to end the same topic. And as nowadays it is an online exam, online learning everything. Yeah, generally student has a habit of searching on internet. Once you started learning searching on internet, you will be getting tens of hundreds of the same kind of notes available on the internet. You should be able to discriminate what topics you need to cover, what topics you're not supposed to cover. So for that, we are here to help you. Entri is here to help you. Entri is here to help you. Okay, we will first step is learn the basics. This is the very foundation. This is the very foundation. After that only all these things will be possible, right? So whatever you are studying, YouTube or whatever cups you will get, or the history or whatever you whatnot, everything will be important because of this. Learn the subject, the process. Attend our online classes, register in app, listen to our classes. This is very important. This is very important. Learn a subject by listening to the faculty members, or you may have lot of things in the available on the internet, right? The most important thing is learn the subject. Then after that, sir, many students fail at this point. Sir. Many students fail at this point. Something called prepare your own notes. See what they'll do, sir. You may go to some coaching center. That coaching center may provide some notes or some material. You always read that material. Problem is, if you are not preparing your own notes, because what happens is every time you can't read hundreds of lines from the books, so you may gist it. You may you may convert the entire syllabus, entire subject of what you are taking, maybe into one page, So in that case, preparing your own notes plays a major role. Very important. Prepare your own notes by listening. Note down the points and note on your own notes. Don't completely depend on the material provided by the institute. Material provided by the institute. Is the point clear? Is the point clear for all of you? Okay. Next. Yeah. Practice previous questions. Practice previous questions. So in the first step and second step, what you have done, you started learning the concepts, and indirectly you are trying to summarize. In the second step, you are trying to summarize the subjects. Are actually in the second step, you are trying to summarize the subject, right? In the third step, here you are trying to test yourself. You are trying to test yourself. What is that, sir? Practice, especially practice all the previous year questions. Practice all the previous year questions by studying for the examination. Okay. So practice with the previous year questions, model question papers, whatnot. Right? So whether you know it or not, even as a faculty, I prepare my own notes. See, everything. Even as a faculty, also I'm trying to prepare my own notes for every concepts. Every concept I'm trying to prepare my own notes. Right? After that, I will definitely practice all the previous year question papers. I am very much sure about what I'm trying to learn. Okay. Next. Next is going to be solve problems from the textbooks. Solve problems from the textbooks. Okay. So this is also very important. You should start practicing the from textbooks or model question papers. So you can see, so transcode, gencode, something kind of thing. You can find this. So many model question papers also will be finding. Will be finding many books which are available here in the market. You can try to You can try to buy them and try to practice them. So solved books, solved question paper from textbooks also you can do, and model question papers also you can do, right? So if you are able to solve on your own the textbooks which you have studied, then that is itself is a great thing. Next, prepare the short notes and the formula summary. So this is very important. This will help you to quickly learn everything. Trust me, even I do prepare my own short notes. You can see here. You can see here my short notes is for the subject called EDC, analog electronics. So this is a short note which I am trying to prepare. So the entire syllabus has come in only 10 papers. And the entire syllabus has come in only in 10 papers. So as a student, you should also try to do everything, sir. You should also try to do this everything regularly, right? So prepare your short notes. So which will definitely help for the next step, sir. This is the very important because the students will not focus much on this revision. Revision is the most important thing, sir. Revision is the most important thing. You should do it every day. You should do it every day. You should do it every day. Okay. So what will help you, sir? This preparation of short notes and formula summary will definitely help you to revise them very quickly. Revise them very quickly. Revise them. That revision is very important. That will definitely help you a lot. Okay. Is the point clear for all of you? Then here comes the mock test. As nowadays everything has become online, so you should definitely try to write as many as mock tests as possible. Then only, why you have to write this mock test, sir? You have to write the mock test because you will know where you stand for. You will assess yourself. You will assess yourself. Okay, is the point clear? The point clear for all of you? So these are the very important steps you need to follow. And finally, this is my favorite slide, and I'm trying to end my lecture with this slide. Something called very importantly, success doesn't come to you. Success doesn't come to you. You go to it. So practice every day. Do hard work. Do smart work, and follow the 7 steps which I am trying to give you, and definitely success will be with you, right? Those are the 7 steps to make you very much successful, right? So once again I'm repeating, so come to entry, learn the subject very well, and get a success in your life. Get a success in your life. Okay, thank you. We'll catch up in the classes, right? Thank you. Bye.